The thing Joe Rogan always says that I like is like keep a fist away.
Act like it's not even there.
All right. You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I can hear you too.
It sounds more intimate this way.
It really does. You
don't have to.
Very.
I'm not going to do
It's like
that.
I'm whispering in your ear. I mean, I really am if you want to get technical about it. But.
Well, yeah. I don't want to get technical about it.
Yeah. Let's not get that deep.
Not yet.
But I do want to, we've been texting back and forth and now talking for quite some time. I feel like we should have been podcasting lunch and outside of the studio conversation. We should. That's why I tell people this all the time. It's like, that's why I got into podcasting.
Exactly.
I was like, that's a cool conversation. Like, I may not ever re-listen to it, but I can picture I'm jealous of like the producers in the room.
Yes.
Of all of the podcasts that I listen to, it's like the person that gets to sit there and listen to all of that live.
And they absorb it afterward as they're editing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about I'm really big on positivity and speaking positive things out into the universe. I believe that the more those vibrations of audio get heard, edited, the more they get played, the more it goes out there to the universe. It doesn't always have to be someone's voice saying it, because I don't know why. We can get into language and stuff like that too, but I think the more of that kind of thing that happens, that's how you literally change your reality. That's going way too deep before we even get there.
Okay, well, Jason Lowe, ladies and gentlemen, on episode 33, Life Unraveled podcast. I got some other shows I do, but it's the open forum.
This is it.
We just talk about whatever, as we were talking about earlier.
Cool.
So tell just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get back into conspiracy theories,
the weird stuff,
and Mesopotamian deities.
Yeah,
whatever we want to talk about. But so you are kind of a Renaissance man. That's kind of why I wanted to have you on the podcast.
Cool.
Because
I don't know that I've ever been called that before, but
well, I mean, okay, so what's a Renaissance man in our time? Somebody that's in the things we're talking about. It's like, hey, you're doing these things that this whole other sect of people are rejecting.
Yeah,
but true. It's just like I'm involved in a lot of different stuff. You're involved in a lot of different stuff. A diverse and interesting set of things. Mm-hmm. So, and I know you're originally from here, but have also traveled. And you're saying over lunch you'd been to Scotland and some different things. So, just a little bit about your background and stuff, man. To get everything going,
dude. I've lived a crazy life for one thing. First of all, I'm 36 years old. I am technically unemployed and intend to be that way for the rest of my life. I'm not a slacker by any means. And in fact, the shirt that I'm wearing right now says hustle on it 1,000 times, I think.
Always hashtag Hustleville.
Yeah, Hustleville. Yeah. I like that. I've never heard of that. You hear Las Vegas a lot these days, but never Hustleville. That's a good one, man.
Yeah, I'm always afraid people are going to think I'm talking about hustling drugs or something, instead of I'm getting my hustle up over here, guys.
Me too.
I'm working hard. I'm grinding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's been kind of my life in Russellville, at least. I grew up in Dardanelle, went to school there, graduated, went to Arkansas Tech for a little bit, studied psychology. I'm trying to make this as brief as possible because these are the boring parts. I wanted to study psychology so I could help children who have been molested, or
like rehabilitation studies and counseling.
Because I myself was a victim of that when I was 5. So, and I speak openly about it because, of I don't know. I think it needs to be heard. People need to be encouraged.
That I think is a lot of the reason. I mean, obviously it's a taboo subject. Yeah. But I think that's a lot of the times. It's just like I was thinking about this. Core and I are about to have kids, where we've been talking a lot about it, and we're planning. We have it planned out, right?
Yeah.
The clock is counting down more and more. So it's like as we get closer, I'm like, I just remember when it was my dad's time to have the talk with me about this and that, and how he would not man up
so
and do
awkward.
that. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
And it's just like, man. Then I started thinking about it. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, I could see where that'd be a little weird. But then it's like I'm trying to put in the thought work ahead of time of how do I deal? And man, did you watch that documentary, Leaving Neverland?
No. Is it a Michael Jackson?
Yes.
Side note, my wife bought me a Michael Jackson shirt yesterday.
Yeah.
Which looks awesome, and I was going to wear it today, but we had talked before the podcast about maybe getting into some Epstein conversation.
Yeah.
And I thought, can I consciously wear a Michael Jackson shirt?
Well, I mean, all of it's, I guess, technically alleged still, right?
It is alleged, but there is truth somewhere to be found. That's
yes. Well, and like if the story itself, like the thing that I was most disturbed about is like the guy that's the NSYNC choreographer, who I've forgotten his name already.
I haven't heard of this.
Okay, so one of the kids that testified previously that said, no, Michael Jackson's great. He was Britney Spears and NSYNC's choreographer at their height. And he was like a Michael Jackson prodigy when he was a little kid. He was one of the kids that went on tour with Michael Jackson, all this stuff.
Golly.
And he like stayed with Michael for like a whole year or something. They lay out this guy's story and another guy's story in this Leaving Neverland documentary.
I need to watch that.
But like this guy had kids and just fell apart because it was like he was realizing what had happened to him. He never, until he had kids and was about 30 years old or something. And like, I kind of empathize with it because like I'm 32 now. And like, I remember even like within the last 18 months, like feeling like I was hitting new leaps and bounds, consciously speaking. I'm like feeling like I was still learning, still getting better at what I was doing, still taking new information, doing stuff with it. So I was like, man, okay, so this guy just really realized that he was a victim.
Yeah.
And he didn't know. Like, that's a possible thing, like, for somebody who'd been abused, maybe. Like, I never thought about it that way. But then also I was like, other people got abused because you said that it's just a complex.
Yeah. And that's the mystery of it, because, like, you now have all these people... I don't want to say lobbing accusations, but making accusations of famous folks 30 years after it happened. And my first, like, I'm a white male, you know, admittedly, I grew up in the South and I have...
It's a bad time to be all the things that you just said.
Exactly. Well, no, I wouldn't say it's, honestly...
I'm joking myself.
I know I know that you are.
But I mean, it's worth talking about.
It's not a bad thing because it's pulling out a lot of truths that we haven't seen. And... like when I was talking earlier about having compassion and just wanting to help people, I think that's why I want to help so many people now and see where I've been at fault so that it doesn't happen in the future. You know, like that is the big goal. You know,
I've been thinking a lot about that because, and so some people, it is what it is. Like, you kind of work on your own issues, and I do this like through getting involved with something. It's like whether it makes you more self-aware or whatever, it's like I've noticed myself several times, it's like, oh, I'm deficient in something. I'm going to work on that through being involved with that in some other way. I think kind of what you're talking about. But some people, like I remember John Lennon was like, he's like, look, I aspired to live this way. I always fell short, but it was like, it was a goal.
Yeah.
And I talked about it like it was something I was trying to do. And it's like you talk about it and sometimes you fall short and then people judge you for falling short of it immediately. Yeah. But it's like Nathan and I talked about this on the podcast the other day. It's like I never really fault a politician for like changing their ideas for what. It's like, okay, I could see, like, I've changed. I've changed the way I view key topics, like what, you know, it's the things we'll talk about.
And you should.
You should. Man. As new information becomes available. But you know how everybody's like, well, you're voting
You flip-flopped.
You switched sides on this issue.
Yeah, you're no longer a Democrat.
You probably met a person that you, that you empathized with, that you realized they were a human being.
Right, exactly. I can't look at, and this is why I don't follow news at all. Like, you might bring up some things that I've never heard of that are current topics because I'm just on that
Area 51 train right now, dude. But that's about it.
You know, if there was anything there, they would have already moved it.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely may have shuffled some things. There's like a million people.
It's like you could, if there were gold in Fort Knox, there would have been an airplane in it already,
or the NSA, or the. I mean, there's a whole bunch of, or maybe this is our There's a whole lot of stuff that exists outside of the we the people model.
Yes.
Like the CIA, the NSA, intelligence agencies,
Right.
and
the black budgets and whatnot.
entities. And I think that we might have caught up. Like at the time that they were getting created, we didn't really know about it. We didn't know what the implications were of there being an NSA and all of these, yes, needed, but they exist outside of oversight,
Right.
as I understand it.
Well, the president has no control over most of the majority of what they do, right? I mean, he has no authority to come in and just say, nope, stop this, because he doesn't even know about this.
I would say probably, I mean, in my view, like what we see play out in the media is probably his version of getting involved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's probably all. It's like we're getting some weird version of the story.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, it's like more along the lines of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
How
many subjects have we hit so far?
All of them.
See, I'm helping you to like broaden your podcast reach so we can talk about literally everything.
Yes.
Under the sun.
You know, we hit all the current stuff. Just talked about Trump. I mean, Russian face app
trolls. Yeah, we can throw that in there for your algorithm.
Yes. You know, here's the whole, like, okay, because I heard that narrative and it's likely AF, but like, dude, what's scary about it, if that is a narrative that's plausible, is the fact that, like, what stops you from taking my likeness from one of my Facebook pictures or wherever,
anywhere,
like like my website, and doing whatever with it.
You've seen the deep fakes, right?
Well, what, like, particularly in reference to what?
Like there was one that went around on Facebook most recently. We had Jack Nicholson on the bottom and Jim Carrey on the top, but it wasn't really Jim Carrey. It was a face mapping that a AI had done. You haven't seen this?
No.
Can you look it up while we're sitting here?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want you to see it. So it's just called deep fake. I don't know, Jim Carrey.
I just tapped
whatever.
Deep fake Jim Carrey.
It is indistinguishable from the real thing.
Oh wow! Oh yeah,
Is it top and bottom there?
Yeah, it's Jim Carrey with The Shining.
Watch the video. That's the most impressive thing, because it's.
Let me see if I can just cast the video up on the TV.
Yeah. So when you talk about like AI, for example, and this whole thing links to the Face app. I'm getting there.
Damn, bro.
Yeah. I posted the other day on Facebook, hey, you guys need to read this. Did you see that post that I had?
Yes.
And like 50 people shared it. Like it was, apparently nobody had thought to read the fine print where it says everything you do in this app belongs to us. Like literally everything. Your photo library belongs to
everything
us.
Anybody does. Even with your own likeness.
Your photo library. How much information about you and everybody you know is in that photo library. Location data,
and all the
facial recognition. They know every single person in your life. They can track every single person in your life through your location data. And your location data also includes how many steps you've taken.
Dude, have you heard that they have like this technology that can read the signature of like your cardiovascular signature?
Absolutely.
Like, oh my goodness! How am I
from a long distance?
That's insane.
Yeah.
This is a podcast that's talking about
Sam, what's his last name?
Tripoli. Sam Tripoli and Eddie Bravo. Eddie Bravo is a jiu-jitsu black belt and a flat earther and many other things.
Really?
Yes. Oh, dude, he is out.
I tried to ride the flat earth train. I tried.
I mean, I went down the rabbit hole for sure.
I just couldn't do it.
I was never a flat earther.
Yeah.
But I was like, we're gonna hear everything you guys have to say.
Right. I want to know.
And when I was going down that rabbit hole, like I went down a dinosaur rabbit hole and a whole bunch of other rabbit holes. I was like, man, I didn't know. And here I am on Hollow Earth and all sorts of stuff.
Hollow Moon.
Now, like Corey and I've been watching Ancient Aliens in the evenings, and like I'm not even entertained by it. I thought I would be.
That's what I'm at too. Because you used to be. That whole line of thinking used to be revolutionary. But now that you have expanded your consciousness a bit.
Oh, there's an error with the video. Please choose another.
Uh-oh.
Come on now.
That means a conspiracy is afoot.
They don't want us talking about this. The Shining starring Jim Carrey deepfake. Oh, so they edited in like a whole scene.
Well, there's another one that's top and bottom. You'll see it in the preview. It's like top and bottom. And I think it has a yellow.
So it shows the original and then the Jim Carrey version.
Yeah, like side by side.
Look,
right there. It's more impressive when you see them side by side.
I mean, I heard Joe Rogan talking about deepfake, but I didn't I didn't look into it. I didn't really get what they were saying and the implications.
And here's the thing.
Because they were talking about like it was crap, like the technology in the mouth, like somebody had done one with Joe.
It used to be like last year. Now it's
I want to see
tell
them,
the difference.
I want to see their mouths move, or Jim Carrey.
How's it going?
Such a good movie too.
I haven't seen it in years.
It's amazing.
Hey, weather forecast said it's gonna snow tonight.
Dude, just because it's Jack Nicholson, you can like I can get like the mouth moving that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could see, but man, for this old of a movie, you wouldn't question it.
That's the thing.
I'll come back later on.
They've gotten so good at it now that they can do like there's videos of Obama. You know, they've tracked over his speeches.
Yeah, I've seen some of those,
and you can't tell the difference. So think about what that opens up to people who would want to do anything even close to being bad. You know, like you could easily. Sorry, I'm talking over this, but you could easily take control over a network, for example, a TV network, and broadcast a special announcement from President Barack Obama. That would be nothing for a hacker to do.
That's
these days.
That's cybersecurity on a whole other. That's a fascinating topic to me, and
Yes.
I'm glad that we are growing. Like, there are all sorts of subsets of that in higher education now, like emergency management, cybersecurity, hacking.
Mm-hmm. There's a gaming, division at Tech.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad they started doing that because I'm just all about. There is this lingering perception when I was in school, I think, that it's like, look, you got to figure out what you're going to be.
And be that forever.
And then also, like, I always tell people this. I'm like, when I graduated, when I was 19 years old, I was going to be a radiology technician, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You know what? That pays like $36,000 a year. And, I was just like a perfect schedule on Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 4. I'm just going to take x-rays of people and make $36,000 a year starting out. And I only have to go to school for just like not even the whole amount of time.
Yeah.
And that is what people are doing right now. So that's what I should do.
Right.
And then I was just like, because, doing something you're just interested in that might not pay the bills was not a thing.
It was an art degree, and that was laughable. You're getting an art degree?
Yeah. I mean, I got a liberal fine arts education, and it definitely, I remember receiving critical remarks from a lot of people around me about what path I had chosen. Mm-hmm. But it's like, in the end, it's like, I did everything I always said I was going to do. Became a history professor with a master's degree, which is actually not easy to do.
Yeah.
I just happened to like a guy retired, and I landed a position nearby, and what are the odds? I mean, it just all played out because I didn't use my education for like 3 years, at least. After I got it, I was just kind of like, and I was kind of down on myself about that, but I mean, it definitely lends to everything I do. I didn't use it just formally in the field.
But you used the experience gained in college.
Yeah. I mean, it made me who I am big time,
Did you have loans?
I do, yes.
You still do?
Yes.
Are they crushing? Like, do they feel horrible?
No. I mean, but if Bernie wants to forgive him, I'll let him.
Well, of course.
I got no problems with that.
I would try to grandfather and myself into some kind of university just to finish my degree.
That, man, it's well, you know, on his plan, it's like you go to that university for free.
That would be awesome.
These are things, man, because I did go into, I'm a person that's like, I went into debt for my education. I am paying it back. I paid a significant portion of it back.
Mm-hmm.
I will have it paid back in about the next 5 years or so if I just kept doing what I was doing. But
it's good you have a plan like that too.
Yeah, man, but so many people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like what we were talking about over lunch with like our city problems, it's like, I brought this up in our little sit down. It's like, if my wife and I, like, I mean, she's way smarter than me, guys. Like, I got a master's degree and all this stuff, but like, she's had a 4.0 since like she came out of the womb.
Yeah.
And she's a genius. Like, Cora is so smart. And it's like, we're like get shit done people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we both came from a situation where it's like no real family ties, money, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if we can't figure this out, who can?
Right.
You know, I was telling this to another friend of mine's a professor, and he was just like, imagine if you were black. And I was like, damn, I never thought about it that way. But then but as soon as he said that, I mean, it was upsetting because I was like, I don't see any black people doing this around here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I started
There
immediately thinking, I'm like, how many black people are running businesses in Russellville or are in a position like I am? I mean, there's some, but it's like, and two, our population isn't as large as some of the other areas, but it's just like the diversity's not there.
Is it proportionate to the percentage of demographic? I don't know.
I don't know. I could see it, but I don't know.
I'm trying to think of how many African American owned businesses that I know of. You probably know of more because you're a business owner.
Man, I'm only thinking of like 2.
Daddy Smackin' Wings is one of them, if you can't think of that one.
There's this guy that runs a little fitness, like trains athletes. I forget what the name of his facility is, though. And I think he is over there by Valley Piano.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind of like a CrossFit thing, but he does like what we do with kids martial arts, but it's for like kids playing football, baseball, basketball, stuff like that. Like, he does private personal training, and
that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so much peewee football and stuff that goes on around here. I mean, it's not what I'm like.
I'm glad I didn't have boys, dude.
Yeah, you have all girls.
I have 4 girls.
Wow.
And I'm really thankful for all of them because I wanted boys. I wanted to have all boys, and 1 girl's fine. I'll have 20 boys before I have 1 girl. And it just didn't happen. But I'm so thankful because, number one, they don't like to play sports by their choice. One of them does. She likes to play basketball. What are the ages? The youngest just turned 4, and then I've got 6, 8, and 10. Wow. I think. And their birthdays are always interspersed, so they're always changing age, and I can't remember what. Yeah. But anyway, they like to play indoor sports. I couldn't imagine being a dad of sons being in a football field at this kind of heat. Dude, like, I think about that all the time. Like, I played football, man. I'm just not a fan of that model. And like in like a community like Russellville, it's like there's 11 spots on the field. Mm-hmm. 22 if people don't play both ways at all. But it's like there's like 700 seniors. Yeah. And, you know, let's just say half of them are boys, 10th through 12th grade. And it's like, what are the odds? You know, it's just, it's too... And I even got to play. Like, it wasn't like I just rode the bench all through high school and stuff. Like, my school was like 107 people graduating class or something like that. I think mine was 93. Yeah. So... And I was pretty low on the list of that 93. I was too, man. I graduated with a 2.9 grade point. I was pretty slackerish in math and science, but dude, in hindsight and having awareness about the things I do now, one, I think I have a learning disability. I don't have very good reading comprehension, dude, but I'm gonna remember the heck out of this conversation. You know, yeah. Like it's auditory. You're using different parts of your brain, yeah. Yeah, but it's like, so I wasn't really aware of that. Or how I could play to those strengths. Right. Like now, like I told you, I was talking about my Graham Hancock books, like
honestly may be the last. I mean, it won't be the last books I buy, but now I'm just gonna get audiobooks.
Yes.
Because I just have that time where I drive to work every morning, and it's about a 25-minute commute, and it's like I knock out, like I wake up and I start listening to a podcast or a book or something, and I'm just doing my morning thing, and I get in the car, I'm listening to it on the way, and I spend about 3 hours in my office, and I don't listen to a whole lot of podcast stuff in my office, but I do occasionally.
Do you have an Audible?
I just got it set up, yeah.
To get your links and stuff?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes, I mean, I just downloaded the app the other day.
Yeah. I did that for my podcast too. It was very, like, people love that. You get a free month? Something like that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can talk about that yet.
No. Well,
they give you a script, basically. You don't have to follow the script exactly, but... Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. More helpful info.
Well, yeah. You ever listen to any Carlin? Dan Carlin, the podcaster.
I thought you were talking about George Carlin.
Yeah, him too.
Like, yes, I have.
But Hardcore History podcast.
I don't listen to anything anymore.
They're this guy, and too, like, I'm a lot of the podcasts. Joe Rogan's really about the only podcast I listen to, unless
I only see him on YouTube.
Joey Diaz has a big guest on. There's some people like that tinfoil hat, like they're talking about some crazy shit.
Yeah,
and talking about that Epstein stuff. But for the most part, I just listen to and watch Rogan.
Yeah.
But I like seeing, we were talking about this over lunch, I think, different formats people use. Like if they're following a script or a format or, eventually I want to segue into getting some sponsors and some different things and doing some ads and stuff. Yep. But I haven't put a lot into that yet.
I did a lot of research in that because that was one of the main offerings of my life coaching company that never really got off the ground, was podcasting. I wanted it to be available for free, and anybody that needs help can get it. And I had no idea what my monetization was going to look like. I just knew that if I kept putting stuff out that I would eventually get monetized in some fashion. And that ended up being true, but I didn't stick with it. So I never really made any money. But it's very easy to do. So you'll have no problem with it.
You just gotta stay after it.
You just have to keep going.
See, that's where I'm at right now. It's like I think I mentioned this before we started recording. I've changed the studio up a few times, just because like I like when I got started. I went through this, and I only do like 2 podcasts with it, but I thought that I was gonna like a chair format better.
Yeah.
And I didn't at all.
You mean like two chairs and a fern?
Yeah. But so then what I ended up doing is like that's the perfect format for my office at the university. So I just took those chairs there. One of them still in my living room. But so now I have this table set up, and like when we get the gym situation rolling, we will set up a studio there, probably another table. But man, I just I'm always here, I'm always at the gym, or I'm always at the university, and I'm trying to be able to crank out content. And just in relation to what all I'm trying to do is capture what I'm doing.
Until all of those places end up being one place, you have to have these. Yeah.
That's how Alex Jones and a whole bunch of other people, it's kind of like a negative reference for a lot of folks. But I mean, he got started off in like a bedroom of his house. Yeah. Joe Rogan, upstairs bedroom of his house. And but it's just, man, everybody like wants a man cave and stuff. Eventually I'm gonna build a carport or something, but in like a home gym and stuff, because man, honestly, I don't want to have to leave my house to be able to do anything, right? Or I just want to be able to do the same stuff while I'm at the gym. Yeah. Well, here's something to remember in this. In your pursuit of the excellence value, or whatever you want to call it, you have to give value in content. And I think just my limited experience with YouTube so far, and any sort of social, I guess you'd call it social media or social digital media, you need to provide with them with something that they can learn from first. And I think you're doing that. You're giving them information or giving them a twist on something that they've never thought of. Your listener, by the way, that's who I'm talking about. Where you are is not going to really matter. Like, you can do it on your phone. I know. It's good, just you being kind of in the business, so to speak. Because, dude, I record, like, it's so easy to do it on your phone. Exactly. Like the vlogs and stuff I'm putting out. Any conversation that you have with somebody that can provide value to someone else, like,
yeah, hey, this is really good stuff. Can I mind if I record it real quick? I mean, that is the best way to do a podcast, I think. I would prefer that over seeing Joe Rogan in the same seat every day. So, tell me about this and that. And then the scientist talks about mushrooms, and then I've taken mushrooms this many times. It's almost predictable at this point. I love Joe Rogan, but
I do too. But yeah, and I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
He even jokes about it.
Yeah, he does. He gets it.
It's like there are Joe Rogan stereotypes now.
Yes. And memes and all kinds of stuff. So like, I think you just keep pursuing truth and open-mindedness and wisdom and things like that, and you'll be drawn into conversations where those things will naturally come up, and just be ready. That's one of the reasons why everything we shoot for our show is on my phone. Well, I use a 5D sometimes too. But
what do you do your editing with?
Adobe Premiere.
So I have about 1,000 hours editing Premiere, but I hadn't used it in almost 5 years.
Yeah, it's a great piece of software, man. I love Adobe. I hate that I have to pay monthly for their subscription, but my wife is, we homeschool our kids, so we qualify as an educator, and we get an education price.
Nice.
So that's cool. And I've used it every day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How many clients do you work with?
It varies with the season. Yeah. Like, for example, most of the people, because of my history, most of the people that would hire me for a job are like from churches, because churches do a lot of video work. And so they'll contact me, and
they really do. Like their live streams and everything. Like everything. They decided that they were going to be on board. I've noticed almost all the churches are live feed and making available all sorts of digital audio and video resources.
They're doing it for free, which is what you would expect them to do, but still, that's pretty cool. And it costs them. The churches, have to pay for that kind of stuff, or they get it for free, and it looks like they got it for free. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of work for churches, and then through the event company that I work with, sometimes there's events that need whatever media they need. It can be countdowns or interviews or things like that. And I literally have learned everything that I know from just experimenting like that. Somebody would call me, hey, can you do this? I've never done it before, but yeah,
I'm willing.
I can figure that out. So and that kind of goes back to where I was talking about being a hustler, man. Like in my mindset that I have now, I just want to do whatever I can do to raise something up, And if I understand that the old model says that you have to work at it for 30 years or, start in as a janitor and you'll maybe be a CEO someday.
Yeah, man, I'm just not with that myself anymore.
I hate that model because it takes too long and it limits my experience in life. Like if this is the only life that I get to live here, I want to be able to say, yeah, I did video editing, and even those things are even trivial in themselves, but to say that I explored everything that I could possibly explore. And to say that I try to make a career out of some of those things, I let creativity fly. And if I get paid for that, cool. Yeah. So that's how I learned video editing and everything that I've done since then.
When did you get into editing? Or video in general?
Man, I don't even know. Like back when I had to steal an editing software, and
we've all done that.
Yeah.
I know I have.
I had a buddy that served in Iraq, and he bought these DVDs that had 600 or 700 pieces of software in it, and it was all pirated, and he bought it for $10, and would give us copies of it. I'm admitting that in public. Hope the CIA is not listening.
It's a work of historical fiction. Okay,
that's true. This is a story.
This podcast is fused with history and fiction.
This is a dramatized.
Yes, we're on a script right now.
Yeah, exactly.
We wrote this ahead of time.
I forgot my line.
I think we're taking an intermission anyway, so and we're back. No, that's so that's just kind of like you're like, what we're going to chat about, and I was like, well, dude, we live in a digital world.
Yes,
I actually I refer to this as the digital age. Mm-hmm. Like there's the age of enlightenment. There's the the age of Napoleon and the French Revolution, or all these ages in history.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we are living in the digital age, and it's a unique time. It's as unique of a time as the printing press, or like is the oldest writing that we have.
Because it changes the world. Totally changes the world.
And in what ways, man? Have you been following this Elon Musk?
I was going to bring that
brain
up.
link.
Yeah, Neuralink.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I can't say I've done this because I can't take credit for it because it's been done by authors for years and years. But we've all thought of a time when you could blend yourself with a computer, like, and become.
Remember the movie Weird Science?
Yes. Exactly, stuff like that, man.
It was like 84 or something.
We've always been like, ooh, what if that could happen? You know, and never really considered what if that could happen. Like,
it is weird how these ideas get introduced to consciousness from the Mesopotamian deities, and then
insane.
They become real.
Yes.
It's a joke.
Mildly. We wanted flying cars. Elon gave us as close as he could possibly get. And now we wanted to be able to control things with our minds.
Have you heard why he is anti-flying car? Like, in terms
it would be
of
stupid.
Well, he was like, people are stressed out by traffic. He's like, imagine if the traffic was above you, casting a shadow on you, and you're like, oh, like, like a plane's always landing or something. So
imagine what happens when those things fail.
Oh, yeah,
because they would.
Yes. He brought up some interesting points, but apparently that had been an avenue that they'd gone down or something, Tesla or some other company that he had. But yeah, this what do you know about Neuralink? Apparently they've done animal trials.
They have, yeah. I haven't looked into it as much as I really want to, because I want to be able to spend a lot of time researching it and watching everything that he says about it. And that's why I've kind of shied away so far. I've been out of town this last week and stuff.
He's so intelligent, man. I love listening to him talk,
He really is a genius, and I think he's Batman. He's super rich and can do anything he wants.
The Christian Bale version of Batman.
Of course.
Yes.
There is no other.
I mean, really, there's not.
I don't know.
I mean, Michael Keaton can get an honorable mention, but that's because, but really just in the original, the second one was weird. Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito is the Penguin.
That was a weird one. Did it have Mr. Freeze in it too?
I think it just had the
next
Penguin.
One did. Batman and Robin had Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, that one. Arnold.
And Poison Ivy. Mr. Freeze, by the way, is one of the best roller coasters I've ever been on.
Dude, Batman also equally as good.
Which one?
I did this at Six Flags over Texas.
Texas? Yeah.
It was yellow.
Dallas?
Yeah.
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 It's yellow and purple, I think.
Yeah.
The one in St. Louis is very rough. Feels like an
I haven't been to the one at St. Louis. See, I forgot there was one there, actually.
I'm a roller coaster
Did you go there?
Yeah.
This past week? Six Flags?
No. Because I worked every day and there wasn't enough time.
Cool.
Yeah, so Neuralink is something worth like researching, and I plan to, but I know that it has to do with electrodes that physically, I think they insert somewhere.
That's what the things, the pictures and things I was seeing, and I mean that's why I was almost like sending you some pictures of crazy things earlier, but it's like I don't even know if that picture's real. I just got it off Google, man. Just screenshot it and send it to you because it fit my narrative.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I was like, look at this, man.
Yeah.
I just Googled what I was trying to show you and then save the image.
This is what I believe, man.
Just letting you know.
I'll fight you for this. Isn't that how like society goes though? Like
it really is. Like, please accept my narrative so we can be friends.
Everybody on Facebook right now in our city is talking about this casino issue.
Oh man, it's big.
And it's been discussed until I'm just sick of it because everybody has their opinion already and nobody's going to change, So let's just have a vote and get it over with.
Have you seen the television show or it's Netflix original Ozark?
I started watching it, but I haven't finished it.
Okay, so season 2 is all about a casino.
Oh, nice.
So like, there's a lot of really creepy parallels.
That's cool. I need to watch it.
Yeah, but it's. I thought it was gonna. I was up in the air on how season 2 was gonna be. I thought it was good. I thought it was maybe even possibly better. Mm-hmm. But it is ironic how it's a similar issue, man. But I mean, was that idea introduced through that show to soften a narrative in our market?
That's a good question, because they have the resources available to do that.
Speaking of the digital age,
man.
like, I mean, and I thought that, I mean, I'm just kind of conspiracy minded about it, but it's like,
I never thought of that.
I mean, like Jason Bateman will soften your stance on a casino, you know, but they kind of depict this other, like the back end negotiation side of it, which then gets, you know, you begging the questions like, well, you know, what sort of casino stuff's going on we don't even know about.
That's the thing, man. And if our leadership is strong enough to withstand that, then power to them. You know, I hope they are. Yeah. And if they are, then we don't need one anyways. You know, like, do the right thing, boys, but
apparently
give us our casino.
What have you heard as being the top arguments against? Moral arguments, ethical arguments?
I don't. Because I don't go to these meetings.
I mean, I haven't been to one either. I haven't been to any meet and greets. I've just kind of, I mean, everybody's buzzing about it. You know, there's some groups on Facebook. I don't know if you're in any of them.
I'm only in them to see them.
I'm not in one officially, but I go there and I occasionally like comments. Yeah. And the other one I am in, and occasionally I do comment.
Yeah. I try, even though I'm not like a public figure. Like, my wife she doesn't really complain. She says all the time that we can't go to Walmart without seeing like 10 people that know me.
Yeah, dude.
And I don't know half of them. So I'm like locally famous without ever having to done anything, you know, to deserve it. So I don't ever say anything in public that I would really regret later politically, or
I know
about weed or about anything that could be used later.
I know that's like, honestly, too, though, that's why I want a podcast about these, just to create an open discourse about the issues. Because it's like, man, really, it doesn't matter. Like, I was talking to somebody, and I've told this to several people. It's like, you just don't. It doesn't matter all the things you're pro. You know, it's like pro casino, pro Airbnb, or all of the stuff, pro dispensary. It's just like, honestly, I want to just know, I want to be educated on those topics, because they do affect everybody in a way.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you just kind of, like, I remember somewhat recently at my job, they had a faculty senate meeting, and they're like, this is the new Constitution. Mm-hmm. Is anybody opposed? And I was just like, oh, has anybody read this? What are we voting on? Or what are we voting on something? Yeah.
What is this?
And they were like, they'd like taken some like things away too. And like the next day, one of the psychology profs who's since retired was like reading this story about these monkeys who were given nuts by their caretaker, and all this stuff, and how they were like pissed about the nut routine changing. Mm-hmm. So they moved it around so it seemed like they were getting the amount they were previously, but they were getting. And he was like reading this psychology book to everybody that walked by. It was so funny, but like, it just like everybody was passive about it. Everybody, like, the morale is a little bit low in some areas, and everybody's just like, yeah, whatever, we don't want to be at this meeting, right? So can we get the show on the road? Yeah, we're good. Everybody is saying yay. All right, see you later. Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of like, hey, what are we voting on? I'm not educated on this topic. Is this an email? Did I miss it?
Right.
It was weird.
I love corporate.
Higher ed,
great,
man. Higher ed.
I don't know anything about it because I did not pay attention.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, college is great for me. I will say, like, it wasn't until, like, honestly, within the last probably a year or 18 months that I realized, like, I'm a collection of really good ideas, and then from a lot of really good people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't even know if I've come up with anything on my own. I probably have, like, through assimilating all of these other people's investments into me, basically.
Isn't that weird?
It is. Like, it's, I didn't like, cause I went through this weird period when I wasn't using my education. And now that I am, it's another weird period. So it's like, how do I interpret the polar opposites of the two? And it's like, I just realized one day, I was like, man, like, all of these people that are still my mentors, a few of them, or that I talked to, or that they inspired me in these ways, like they put, like, I have their ideas, like they put like their interpretations, and it's like, that's who I am now. Like, I became, those made an imprint on me, and now I'm engaged in propagating the idea myself. It's fascinating.
And upon what does that sit? Does that question make sense?
No, clarify.
That personality or that belief system or that whatever, that way of being, who you are, upon what does that rest? Like, where is the soul? Where is the thinker? Like that.
What is consciousness?
What is consciousness? We're going to go there. My goodness. But I was just reading Ram Dass's book, Remember, Be Here Now. And it just talks about how he used to be a psychologist and worked at Harvard and had all these appointments and stuff. And then he took acid, and it totally changed his direction in life to becoming a monk, basically, and teaching thousands of people Buddhist ways of thinking. So how is it that our personality is built so much on the people around us and the things that we're taught? Why do we accept those things as true just because we don't know beforehand? Like, why is it the first thing we hear is, oh, that's truth, I better follow that? And anything else that comes around later, even though it might be logical, we reject it. We don't look into it. Why is it? Is that evolutionary or is that social? There's a lot of things to chew on there.
No, that's a fascinating topic. Because really, how many people are into epistemology, the theory of knowledge?
Right.
Because I just actually touched on. You ever think or talk about moral relativism?
Yeah.
Or just relative truth, because you kind of hinted about it. It's I always do this little thought experiment with some of my students. I'll write 2 + 2 = on the board, and they all say 4, and I write 5, and I'm like, but I'm here to convince you that it's 5 today.
Yeah.
And then I use all of these other examples of how things have changed over time.
Yeah.
And how our interpretations have changed over time. And I'm sure this is the same mode of thinking that because I always use a flat earth sort of approach because I'll interject because I'm giving the logic lecture and the philosophy lecture all at the same time. So I'll be like, all right, guys, so there are people out there who are flat earthers, and somebody will always take the bait and be like,
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so you the laugher, tell me what you think about, they're idiots. They're idiots. And I'm like, okay. So, sir, what is your number one proof for heliocentrism?
Mm-hmm.
Crickets. More crickets. And it's so you don't know what heliocentrism is, first of all, and you just committed the fallacy of personal attack for somebody who believes a certain way, and you are just propagating the narrative that you've been told.
Yep.
And I'm here to tell you about relativism today. So I'll go into it, and I was like, by the way, the fallacy of personal attack brings discredit to everything you're about to say.
Yep.
But it's fascinating to kind of mess with them like that and give them.
So amazing to think about how that works.
Yeah, I mean it is, because we do accept a lot of things, and I had somewhat of an experience where it led me to derive kind of that interpretation of what I was saying. These are the people that, in a way, how I interpret it, sort of pass their consciousness on to me.
Mm-hmm.
Did they do that for everybody around them? I don't know. And it's I've started to think about, I've gotten into some Carl Jung over the last 18 months or so, but thinking about the living consciousness and how ideas are introduced into a consciousness. And if you think about things like psychedelics, like you mentioned, this, in the number of academics that are associated with studying it right now, and the movement with mushrooms, Paul Stamets with mushrooms, Leary and others with LSD, all of these people sort of experimenting on this. And imagine if you have Einstein's idea, and then he does some sort of thing that makes him look at something differently. It makes his idea maybe repurposed in another way. So it's I think that definitely not the stoned ape theory or whatever, but it's people are coming up with maybe unique ideas, having had and done those things and had those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where some ideas are introduced into consciousness. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and we are asking questions as a species that have not been asked for several thousand years. I mean, think about that. And no discredit to Jesus. I mean, by all means, he great teacher at the least. But when Jesus came on the scene, like that's about the time when things just started to change from.
Oh yeah.
Like that sort of thing. There's a
Universal
illustration on the
shaman,
wall. Yeah,
Jeff Wood.
Like that's what it was.
I know. I'm fascinated by studying shamanistic culture or the culthood of Amun. Mm-hmm. There's this place in Egypt called Miro. It's way down south. It was this sort of I don't know if it was the capital, but it was a very big settlement for these Nubian Kushite, these black African pharaohs, not like your Arabian sort of Egyptian type. And they had a different culture. They wore leopard skins. They carried spears and stuff. So you looked at them and like culturally they were different looking than the Egyptians at the time. But they allied with the cult of Amun, and they built these little tiny pyramids. And I don't know what they're all about.
I'm gonna have to look into that. Miro,
M-E-R-O-E.
There's pyramids on the screen right now. That's actually cool.
Oh,
I've always dreamed about going there, man.
I'll go someday. I really I want to climb the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
It's probably a bullshit thing to do.
You can get arrested for it, but people do it.
That you pay the guard. A buddy of mine's done it. You just pay the guard like $20 and he's like, get up there.
Here you go, man.
Look the other way. Don't tell anybody.
Oh, have you heard the theory? And since we're just
Forrest Gump?
Since we're just going crazy here. No. So those things, when you see them there and elsewhere, imagine them as large trees that have been removed, and the sand around is actually like sawdust. You ever heard that theory?
Whoa.
The giant tree theory?
No.
There are much better examples, out there.
What would you call what we're looking at?
It's like a desert scene with some huge bluffs in the distance.
Yeah, it's where Forrest Gump is running.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's an iconic road, the long road with the.
And he's just running. But, and I'm not saying that I personally believe this, but there are some places where, in China, it looks like a 10-mile wide tree has been chopped down, and especially if you believe in the Bible, but also a lot of other things, giants used to exist on the earth.
Particularly in that part of the United States, from some of the things I read.
There you go.
Is where some alleged remains. I couldn't find some real good sources, but there's apparently some caves where they have discovered giant remains in the southwest portion of the United States
Heard
and
that too.
Central America.
And, if you like the Book of Enoch, for example, describes giants that were miles tall. And not just
think about where the
feet.
story of Jack and the Beanstalk comes from.
Exactly. There are legends for a reason. People that just come up with
mythology and folklore, man.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So every time I teach a culture, it doesn't matter who they are. We have I include a slide and a couple of pages of lecture on religion and mythology.
Yeah.
What are there in the two, when I do Mesopotamia, I hit Gilgamesh real thoroughly. And just I've gotten super into archetypes.
Yeah. I
love studying archetypes in literature and symbols, in gestures. I'm making a gesture towards you. All of the Wing Chun hand forms are these hand gestures, asking hand.
Yeah.
That's a way. It's called a palm up wedge block. But there's dispersing hand, slapping hand, pulling hand. There are all of these sort of archetypal gestures, pushing and pulling, and
they're ancient.
Yeah, it's just, and you see them. They're timeless. You see them everywhere. You see them in all cultures for all time, and I love finding things that I'm in the ancient record that is still hold today.
Yeah.
So, or thinking about the ways in which they might hold true.
it's scary to think that there could have been an entire culture that we have either just not been educated about or not know about. Either one of those is scary, but like 80-foot tall people existing would totally blow everything we believe.
Dude, I couldn't even do any of my jiu-jitsu moves on that.
There's no way.
Huh.
It'd be like Gulliver's Travels, man. You'd have to like.
Dude, I mean that's a great example. Yeah. The Ted Danson version, I hope, is what you're referencing, dude.
I've never seen the Ted Danson version.
Well, it's great. Okay,
but I hope I never do.
It's almost as good as the Armand Assante version of Odysseus.
There you go.
The Odyssey.
That's a good one.
It really is. I'm probably going to show that in my with the paper that I have these kids do, because they're just college freshmen, most of them. And it is we take a work that's based off of history, so like Troy or 300 or something like that, and it's like, where did they go wrong? Yeah. You know, like, where is this embellished? Where is it accurate? So they have a little 5-paragraph format, and they write a research paper, and they cite the film. And I teach them some basics of research, but it's really just like the exercise to teach them to think critically of like, why does the beginning of this movie it say based on a true story? Yeah. And like, so that's back to the digital age, man. It's like, for the first time ever, the way we're telling this history, and not just that documentary, I got way less qualms with. It's when like we're joking about with the Hollywood, but you just like, if you studied the Red Scare, you would know that like anti-communist rhetoric and propaganda and all sorts of other things throughout the 1950s, 60s, even 70s were being sponsored and funded magazines by the CIA, by the NSA. Yep. And it's like, where else because it's like, how do you soften a market on an issue that's controversial? You know what I'm saying? You make it feel like it's their idea. And because so many people identify themselves with things outside of themselves, you know, like the news. I go home and watch the news every night before I go to sleep, and I think about it all night. You know, like, people become what they consume. Man, I haven't watched the news in forever. Well, I haven't either. Yeah, I know, but like and most people I run into don't, and I wonder if that's good or bad. I used to think it was totally good, but now I'm like, am I turning a blind eye to the situation and the way it is, and or so many people not? But it's like, then it's like, whoa, the news narrative it's tampered with, it's biased, it's got an agenda. I get that too. So it's like, then it's like back to the theory of knowledge. Where do we get our information? That comes with being self-aware, I think. Like, the solution to that is being more self-aware. And whatever means that you get there, just search for self-awareness, because then you know, you don't need someone else to tell you right or wrong. And that's what the media essentially does. They tell you, oh, this idea of Trump is what you should believe. And if you watch CNN or if you watch Fox News, like, it's obvious you're being fed different stories. So the only way to know the truth is to know the truth inside, like who you are at the core. And that's self-awareness. Yeah. So which that's, like I mentioned this earlier, like moral relativism. You know, it's like, is who you are at the core a thing that moves and changes? I think it does if you allow it to, but I don't personally believe that any energy in this universe is separate. Like, I think that everything is connected, and we all came from the same point, you know? And that includes our soul, whatever our soul is made up of, whatever energy is inside. We're all one. So the truth for me, if I get to the purest form of it, should also be the truth for you. That's outside of all opinion. It's outside of what I think about an issue. Like, it's the truth at the core. So that shouldn't change regardless. But we do change our opinions based on just being flesh, being human. I know, yeah. And it's interesting to see how people are judged for their, like we mentioned earlier, judged for changing their opinions. When it's like, I view it as like, so what you're telling me here is that you were, because I've changed my opinion, and like particularly on like things like for like dogmatically in jiu-jitsu, I never did leg locks because I was told that like they were the devil. Yeah, I mean, there's memes about it. Like it's part of the culture. Like some people do it, some people don't. Sport rules but it's like one day I just like realized I felt like I'd been lied to, and I was like, I'm gonna do these. I'm gonna study all of this taboo stuff. I don't even care what people have to say about it.
Is there some kind of, like, who would say in that culture, where does the pressure come from to be uniform? Is it traditional, or is it like some kind of organization that says you have to do something?
It's all of that. It's like, so you could survey the broader community of jiu-jitsu and the culture that exists within it. And like, some people are like, okay, Jason, you're going to need to purchase this white gi and just wear the white one. Okay. It can only have the team patch on it. It cannot have any of your shit. Okay. White gi only. Don't wear any color gi. Mm-hmm. That'll be $150. You cannot get a gi unless it's from me. I get that. Yeah. Like, to an extent, I'm not really, but like, are you that type of consumer? Bro, would you like this stealth black gi that my bro Nick Hoots designed?
There you go.
Because it's dope and it looks cool. It makes all white belts look cool and feel cool. It's like when Luke Skywalker came back in Return of the Jedi and was in the black costume.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Would you like to feel that way? And everybody's like, yes. And everybody, sorry, white gis only, bro.
Yeah,
like, you know
exactly.
what I'm saying?
But the black ones cost $1,000.
Yeah, yes. It's like only 10 bones more for a quarter, bro.
Yes.
But it's stuff like that. Like, there's a whole association out there that's like that. There are groups that are like that. There are groups, there's this culture exists like, okay, Jason, I'm a black belt. Okay. And you do not ask me to roll. Okay. Only I ask you. And like, dude, that's a culture. Wow. And it's like, I don't adhere to any of that. I don't adhere to like all of the taboo. I'm just like, why do we line up in rows? This is weird. Mm-hmm. Can we stand in a circle? Like, but it's the tradition to line up in these rows delineated by your rank.
Right.
And it's just like, man, that's not propagating equality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I've got a blue belt right now that can submit anybody in the gym, and me included. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of the best guys. And it's like, yeah, I submit him, obviously, and everybody else that's a colored belt for the most part does too. But it's like, he's dangerous. Yeah. And it's like, so it's like, there goes your hierarchy, you know, in terms of like it being attached to something tangible, like what you can do to somebody. Right. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, then it's like, oh, you've been here longer, so you stand in front of that man or woman or whoever. And things like that, I think dogmatically speaking, like all of these things will go away.
I hope so.
I'm trying to lead the crusade. I joke about it in my videos and stuff all the time, because like there for a while, I would only show illegal techniques in my uniform, because that's the taboo thing. Is like, bro, you're wearing a jiu-jitsu gi and you got your black belt on. You're showing these illegal techniques. And it's like,
you're not representing correctly.
Yeah. And it's like, so I've relentless. I'm just like, dude, jiu-jitsu thought police. They're always, there's like Facebook pages about it, Bullshito, McDojo Life and all this stuff. And it's just like, I don't even, I'm not affected by it, but I kind of like, I joke about the narrative. Master Ken's kind of doing a similar thing. You know what I'm saying? I don't take it to the comedy degree that he does. Yeah. He's playing over, he's playing on dogmatic stereotypes.
Yeah. I didn't know he was an actual instructor.
He's trained. Okay. But like, I don't think that he still does. Yeah. I mean, he's a black belt. Like, wow. That was one thing he actually has done, martial arts, but that's
it's hilarious.
It is, man. The martial arts culture is fascinating. I think a lot of people in the jiu-jitsu community think that they're like no stereotypes, because there's an elitism. Yeah. Also, it's kind of interesting. I have this whole segment of the show where all we do is talk about martial arts. I just try and keep my audiences like that, but it is such a big part of what we do.
Keep your algorithm happy, you know? Yeah. That's a subject that I have no experience in.
Yeah, man, we live in a weird time, fascinating time. Have you heard of Jocko Willenick?
No.
He is a former Navy SEAL. He has a podcast, but he's also he's like a David Goggins type character.
Okay, yeah.
He's been on Joe's podcast. I forget where I first heard. He's written a few books, I want to say, but him and Joe Rogan have both done, and Eddie Bravo too, both done so much. Like, they're like, hey, check out this flat Earth, you know, like, or having different, and then they talk about jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So like, so many people are coming to me that are just like Joe Rogan files.
Well, it's
like listening to him at work, and they're like, man, he just kept talking about jiu-jitsu and it appealed to my sense of being, and here we are, you know, I want to be like Joe. And
Hey,
I'm
man.
like, all right, dude.
That's cool.
Here's this stealth fighter black gi we got right here.
Mhm.
Make you feel cool like Luke Skywalker.
Look like Tom Cruise getting off the jet.
Dude, new Top Gun movie coming out.
I have not even seen that trailer yet, but I hate it when I have to go work because like I don't have time to sit and watch, you know, a trailer or anything because everything's.
Dude,
we do
editing is
events.
such a time-consuming thing, bro.
It's crazy.
That's why I'm so glad to hear that you do things on your phone a lot of the time.
Yeah, I tried to be
minimalizes.
Yeah, like I can still be with my family. People say that you're not really with your family if you're on your phone, but I feel like I balanced it well.
Do you have an app for Premiere on your phone by the chance?
There's Premiere Rush. I don't use it for editing, but I use it for all the social part of it, the Insta and the Facebook and the marketing part, because part of my business is doing marketing for clients and stuff.
What all sort of services do you actually provide?
I say it's anything that you would call digital media. You know,
Content creation.
We create content. It's, you know, I'm pretty skilled with writing stuff, so I've written blog posts for people. Anything from that to writing scripts for commercials, actually filming commercials, websites, anything digital. I know enough about it, or I know someone that can do it, and I can put those things together. I just want my company to be, you know, the digital media powerhouse that Russellville deserves, you know.
Man, media firms are going to become more and more of a thing. I've been thinking about media firms for like 5 years now. You ever follow Gary Vaynerchuk?
I'm a huge Gary Vee fan.
Dude.
Yeah, and that's I can't make the jump from me to company. You know, like I've never been educated in any form of business.
Man, I almost got was it Nathan that was saying he had a business background?
Nathan George, yeah, he's really smart with that stuff.
Because here's the thing, like I was telling Corey last night, I was like, you have your black belt in business.
Mm-hmm.
And in different ways, I do too, but like all the things that I suck at, like not going to tax jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like accounting, budgeting, like Cora does that whole side of the business, and I like show up and teach martial arts like a bum. But
you're pretty lucky in that.
I know, she's so good. But for the most part, if I didn't have her doing that, it would be extremely difficult. I would have to hire it done. I would have to hire somebody to do the books and stuff like that. So that's the side of owning a business. But I've always kind of looked at it the other way, and I've even told her, I'm like, if you not doing this alleviates stress and you're able to do more strengths,
right?
Kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk says, like triple down on your strengths.
Yeah.
Like I don't give a damn about your weaknesses. Like let's not even talk about those. That sounds negative.
Yeah.
Like let's just focus on what you can do.
Right.
So, but like luckily, it's weird because with Cora, like my wife, everything that she is like really good at, I suck at.
Yeah.
And everything that I'm really good at is like her sort of point where she doesn't quite feel confident. Yeah. And it's interesting because for me, and we're polar opposites. So like I actually was like the other day, I was like, I'm not smart like you. You're so smart. And she's like, you're a college history professor. You always know some information.
Pull it together, man.
And I was like, I'm not smart like you. But I really felt that way. But you know, her subjective reality is like, I'm not smart like you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like both of those statements are true.
Yep.
We both really lean on each other in the areas that we are weak.
Right.
So, but that's, I think, why we're a great team and get a lot of stuff done and have made it as far as we made it.
Yeah. I think that could be humanity's story as a whole. Like if we would all be that way together, how much could we accomplish?
Yeah.
You know, I think about that a lot. There's so much division and there's so much just unneeded anger.
Oh, I was telling somebody this the other day. It's like, and I mentioned this to you earlier about like having to make political posts because building a building is a nightmare. But it's like, I'm not trying to create any divisiveness with anyone. It's like, oh, you don't want there to be a casino? Cool, dude. Just don't assume I think like you think, you know, or whatever, or expect me or require me,
right,
as a part of our exchange to think like you think.
Right.
It's fascinating.
I'm not gonna agree with you just so I can be your friend.
I know. I've recently have gone through that with a couple of people, and it's just like, that's like my principles don't line up with that. So like I can't. Sorry.
I don't ever unfriend, but I unfollow a lot.
I know. I'm glad they made that an option. I think they realized, because like I used to kind of feel like an asshole for unfriending people. Not really, sort of. But now I'm just like, oh, I don't have to. It's almost like almost a bigger digital slap in the face, man.
It really is.
Like, yeah, you can still look at my life, but I'm refusing to look at yours.
Exactly. I still want you to see me. Yeah. But I don't want to see you. Well, then that's exactly what I was about to say too. That's exactly the reason why I do it, because I'm self-aware enough to know that most of the things that I post are positivity. And man, that makes me think of so many other things to say, but I'll finish this thought. I want them to have the positivity on Facebook, because like that's been what I've wished for, you know.
I know, that's like, we've alluded to that about 3 times now.
Yeah,
it's an aspiration. Yeah.
But yet I don't want to have to intake all of their just random nonsense, because it's mostly nonsense. So that's why the unfollow button exists.
Thanks, Mark.
And we're better for it.
Thanks, Zucks.
Yeah. Give me some money, man.
One thing you did good, at least. I don't know, man. I'm back and forth. Like we talked about this earlier. I don't know if we're recording, but like Facebook, I have to have it for my business. Like it's, and everybody's always talking about it's on its way out. It's this, that, and it's like, I see no signs of that. Like I'm getting more leads in our inbox than ever. More people are hitting me up than ever. We're getting more reach than ever. Yep. And as a matter of fact, like I feel like I understand more about digital marketing than ever. I was commenting with the score the other day. I was like, I just feel like I didn't view, like, why did it take me so long to think about it this way? You know? And she's like, it's only been a thing for like less than 15 years or something. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's true.
Think about how long it took for like newspaper advertisements to get to where they are now. You know, papers have been printed for what, a couple hundred years probably, or longer.
Yeah.
So it takes a while for any new medium to figure out how it's going to monetize, and it has to equalize over a certain period of time. And social is getting to the point now where people like you and I, who aren't big business owners and corporation owners who have staff to do this, we get to figure it out now. And it just takes a while. That's just where we're at.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's I say this a lot. It's a weird and interesting time to be alive.
That's for sure. I don't think it's half as interesting as it will be when my kids grow up.
Oh man, I remember when I was like a teen, like looking at my dad and being like, dude, you do not get what's going on at all. Right. Like when we were, because I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, I remember when Windows 95 came out. I had that computer with that PC with that operating system on it in that year. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's weird time. Like, and now it's like people, I saw this meme post the other day. It's like you used to, like, the internet has become already making this transition to where it's like, oh, we got to get rid of our phones and go out in nature. And then like before it was like, oh, I got to escape the world and get in the internet. Like I'm escaping everything else. It's stressful. I'm getting in the internet right now. Yep. And now everybody's like, oh, my phone, it's taking over my life. I got to.
Well, they realize the truth inside. You know, everybody has that light that permeates the darkness of our phone.
Yeah.
So,
dude, it was Mario 3 for me when I was a kid, bro. Played it too much.
Yeah. Excite Bike and Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
Yeah. I remember getting in trouble because like my dad was out of town and I was like, I'm on the last level. I will not talk to him.
Yeah. Tell him to wait.
But yeah, it's like he's
calling long distance.
Yeah. I know. It was like, that was when it was like a big thing to call long distance, you know. We're talking like early 90s.
Call 1-800-COLLECT. This is expensive.
I remember like calling my parents from the movie theater one time being like, I'm ready at the movie theater, come get me.
Yes.
And it would like tell them instead of my name.
Yes.
And they would like not accept the call and come get me because I didn't have a way. Like I would spend all my money at the concession stand and not have a way to call them.
We all lived the same childhood.
A payphone, man.
In America. Yeah. I saw a payphone in South Dakota.
There's a couple of them in still in Russellville. I don't know if they work.
They're still in Russellville?
There's a couple of them still around.
Wow.
Yeah.
My kids wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't think they've ever picked up an actual phone that has dial tone. They don't know what that sounds like.
Nathan and I were joking about the kids that went viral because they were from around here. They couldn't do the rotary phone.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's funny. Like, actually, a friend of mine from Clarksville that we're eating dinner with them tonight, she teaches at Clarksville Junior High. It's a junior high. And that was some of her students. Man. Super funny.
And it went viral too, man.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big one.
I saw it on a few different sites.
Wow. I didn't know they were from around here.
Yeah.
Cool.
You must not be from around here.
Boy. What time? How long do you normally do this?
Man.
When do you need to get off of here?
We'll probably start wrapping it up. I gotta do, it's about 3:30. Man, I've ate berries. I just kind of work with people's schedules. Like today, I'm off. I'm not teaching any summer school or anything.
Cool.
I do need we're going to have some dinner plans about 5:30 or something. And I think I'm going to run over to the gym, just kind of touch base there.
Cool.
I feel weird if I don't go there at least once a day.
Yeah.
Plus, there might need to be some coffee in my future.
You might need to put someone in a lock.
Yeah.
While you're there and just.
Or choke.
You never know when. Do you ever do that just to do it? Like, is it just fun to walk up to somebody and just.
I reserve wrist locks for those exchanges.
Do they hurt the worst? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to find out, by the way. Don't show me. Yeah.
Wrist locks are painful. But here's the thing, like everything can be painful. You're supposed to tap before it hurts. Not always something you can pull off.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Jiu-jitsu people have weird little quirks about them. Like snuggling with my wife's not the same as normal people. Yeah. Like I've accidentally choked her in my sleep before.
Yeah, I bet.
Like I was showing, like I remember perfectly. Like I'm teaching jiu-jitsu the same method right now. It's like a different way of teaching. It's where you take a move and you do it from all positions instead of being like, we're going from this position to this position to this position to this position, and we've hit them with the submission. And we got these other options right here. Mm-hmm. But where I'll just kind of take a move and just like highlight it from all areas. I forgot where I was going with that. Other than I'm doing Bravo chokes that same way right now.
You were talking about choking out your wife in your sleep.
Oh, yeah. That was so I remember the class I taught vividly. It was a gift wrap class, and I showed the gift wrap, which is a way of taking the back and choking somebody from all the positions I knew it from, which was like 6. And that night I totally gift wrapped her and took her back. It's something you do to somebody when they're like on your side laying away from you. So like you could see like the kinesthetic, like you feel that. And like jiu-jitsu is very feel oriented, man. You ever thought about getting any training? I know we talked about it a little bit.
I wanted to do MMA for a long time, and I just, my part in where I'm at in life just doesn't allow it.
Yeah. You stay pretty busy, work some long days? Or?
Yeah. And I was on a fitness kick for a while. I got down to like 255 or so. My goal was 235.
How much you wear now?
265.
No. How tall are you?
6'6".
Yeah, I noticed that you were one of those mid-level giants.
Yeah. And I started out at my heaviest I've ever been was about 320. And this time around, I started at 295.
I would not have thought you'd be into dude. I'm kind of intimidated by you, man.
Yeah, I'm like a bull ox or a bull moose or whatever it's called. Like I'm really strong, but I don't look like it or lift weights or anything. It's just I was fed well.
Yeah.
When I was a kid.
You watch Game of Thrones?
No.
There's a giant in there, and he passes away, and like the
Hodor
next to last season. No, Hodor's got giant's blood though, but this guy's name was Woon Woon.
Okay.
And dude, I'm not gonna lie, bro, I'm crying when he does.
Yeah.
Like it's real sad. Ramsay Bolton kills him, and Ramsay Bolton's a real asshole. That's all I can say about that.
That's always worse when your TV hero dies.
I know, man, and it's just like he was such that gentle giant sort of depiction.
That's how I am too.
Yeah, I can get that.
I've thought about another life where I was a Buddhist monk on the top of a mountaintop. I could totally do that, but I love my family too much to do that.
Man, it's wild to me how many martial artists go down that path.
Yeah,
at one point or another.
Mm-hmm. it's such a dedicated art. And that's
a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
That's why I've kind of, the older I get every year in, I understand it more and more. I'm like, yeah, I have the same problems as you over there, new student, with that.
Right.
Yeah, bring your hands back to your face, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's easier said than done. I'm struggling too, okay? That's why we have to discipline ourselves.
Yep.
So that's where that's like situations like that. It's like, yeah, it's easy to not bring your hands back to your face. So just do that. Just bring them back to your face. Oh, it takes discipline.
Yep. And doing it over and over.
Well, and then you apply that to all these scenarios. Like, oh yeah, you forgot to get the underhook when you're passing the guard or whatever it is. And it's like, that's why this is happening to you.
That's why so many people don't try meditation or don't stick with it.
Like, get some moments of feeling uncomfortable.
Well, it's because meditation takes repetition and dedication and just time. There's a lot of personality is like an onion. We all have the different layers and stuff to get through, and that's what meditation helps you to do. But when people try meditation, they see themselves sitting there and wasting time.
See, I heard somebody describing it somewhat recently. I can't remember where, but they were basically saying, it was that naval guy I was mentioning over lunch. Don't attach anything to it.
Exactly.
Like, don't make it like you have to do it for 20 minutes. Don't make it you have to think about this, you have to sit this way.
Exactly.
It's not that. You ever read John Maxwell, How Successful People Think?
Not that one in particular, no.
It's a quick read or an easy listen, and he basically, like, the big takeaway is like, look, you have to have some time in the day where all you do is think. And here's why you could benefit from that. Here's what that looks like, and like, here's some strategies on it. But like, really, and I mean, you think like that. It's almost like I'm like, oh, dude, you're talking about meditation. Like, it's what you're talking about.
Yeah, that is a form of meditation for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's this like kind of. It's almost like he was selling it to the crowd. Is like
it's something new.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
guys never heard this.
Guys, we call this thinking.
Thinkitation.
Yes. The conscious things do it, okay, sometimes.
Well, I find it interesting that there's so many different things that you can meditate on, and that is, improving yourself or whatever it is. You can think about things and meditate on those things, but self-awareness meditation is thinking about nothing. And every thought that comes into your mind, you don't judge it, you don't place a value on it, you let it happen, and then you see it go. Like you're trying to become the watcher of what happens. And through that, you become more self-aware of where do these ideas even come from? Where does this anger even come from? Like if sometimes I'm meditating, last night I meditated for 15 minutes. Go me, that doesn't sound like a long time.
I mean, it's a portion of the day.
It's a portion of your day that you set aside to do nothing.
See, and that's kind of the thing that he kept saying.
Yeah.
And that John Maxwell.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of kept liking it back, because it's like he kind of kept reverting to like, look, there can't be other things in this time.
Exactly.
This is nothing else going on other
Prioritize.
than you and your thought processes and what those are and what they need to be.
Yep.
So.
And overcoming a lot of the issues in your life, I tell people all the time it can be solved by meditation, and they laugh at me, like we were talking about earlier. Because they haven't tried it to a point where it makes sense to them that it could solve issues. People that are severely angry all the time, you can get over that with meditation, because you see that those anger feelings come from nowhere, essentially. There is no you, there is no ego, that sort of thing. That becomes real with self-awareness meditation. And I don't know, that's how it changed my life, honestly. I don't know how I got to there from what we were talking about, but there you go.
Jerry Epstein, Temples, Moloch.
We didn't even touch it.
I know. Dude, I always say this with everybody, but you should definitely always feel free to come back on the podcast.
Yeah,
definitely.
man. I'd love to.
Kind of wrap it up now so I can touch base with all the
little tag.
Appropriate, yeah. Well,
your disclaimers.
Do you have anything you want to plug before we wrap it up, man, other than kind of...
Dude, if anything, I would just plug. I really enjoy, like, for me personally, I really enjoy hearing other people's thoughts on kind of the issues that we talked about, because I don't get a lot of that currently. So if anyone hears this and wants to discuss anything that we have talked about, I think that's cool. Send me a message on Facebook. I love just talking about deep stuff. So let me help you explore.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But if you're totally willing, come back on. It's been nice getting to sit down. It's actually the first day we've hung out.
Yeah, man.
I think you just probably, like a lot of people right now, saw me bitching on the internet about my city problems. So sorry we had to meet that way.
Well, it's
but thanks for empathizing, you know, at the end of the day, because I think that's kind of like why we started chatting. And then I was like, oh, we got a lot of similar interests.
It's kindred spirits. They always find each other out, man.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
Because, man, I've had to, so many things that you were into, I've had to kind of learn to do. It's like what I was saying with business. It's like I am interested. I've worked in college and did a lot of filming for a different program, and filmed lectures and turned them into DVDs and different things like that. But, you know, that's something I've gotten more and more into over the last 2 or 3 years of this podcast and filming at the gym and up in our, figuring out how to make it better. And I just always tell people, it's like, that's the fun part for me, is like, I don't know, I'm kind of an audiophile, but I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of, it's like everything, man. You're just kind of making it up. You know, I don't have a lot of things figured out. I'm aware of some things I'm good at, and
it's the act of creating something, I think, that makes us happy.
It is man, I can't even quantify those feelings to people that don't have them, but it's like, it's like something that must be satiated.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a disease.
I feel like and my wife has even told me this, it feels like my pursuit of creation feels like her existence of pregnancy when she was pregnant. She feels like that's the same that I feel. Like those feelings are similar, because when she has a child, there is a connection that I will never understand. And for me, content creation is that same way. I can't explain to her why I love doing what I do for almost zero money sometimes, but it's because of that need to just give and be and create from nothing. That's a deep subject that we could talk about next time.
Yeah, man. Well, I would love to. I would love to have you back on. So
yeah, man, it'd be awesome.
If you have some time, we'll get scheduled for sure.
Absolutely.
So. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. We're going to go ahead and sign off. This has been episode number 33, Life Unraveled podcast. If you are listening, you can follow us on Podbean, Stitcher. I'm pretty sure we got taken off Spotify because I didn't make some conversion they kept emailing me about. I didn't really want to be on there anyway. They pay like crap. Tool's on digital media now, though. So new album coming out in August. That cool.
Is cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
About time. But that's that, guys. Thanks for listening. Check us out. Give us a share, thumbs up, subscribe to our channel and all that. We appreciate the support.